one team going into the 2024 NFL season, I feel like I have almost zero opinion on is the Atlanta Falcons. And I'll start with the draft picks. I think one fair way to judge whether or not a draft pick was a good selection or a bad selection is just whether or not that pick ends up playing for you. And if you look at the depth chart, there's not a single rookie that was selected from the 2024 draft class for the Atlanta Falcons that is anything more than a backup. It obviously starts with Michael Penix. Then you look at their second round pick, the defensive lineman from Clemson, Rook Ororo. He's the backup nose tackle. Defensive end Braylon Trice is the third outside linebacker. I guess second outside linebacker on the right side. Another defensive end, Brandon Dorlus, is the third string defensive end. Like, it goes on and on. I don't think I need to necessarily go down every single draft pick. You get the point. There's not a single draft pick that Atlanta took that they are going to start. And in a lot of these guys' case, especially Penix, if they think everything is going right with Kirk Cousins, are just not going to play. And I don't see how a team who offensively last year, and, you know, this should be taken with a grain of salt with Arthur Smith as the head coach and play caller for this offense last year, because now he's gone, it's obviously going to be much different. You have Zach Robinson as the offensive coordinator now for the Atlanta Falcons, but he's going to be coordinating an offense who last year was 26th in scoring, 17th in total yards, 23rd in turnovers, 22nd in passing, and 9th in rushing. And I'll say this, as bad as we all think Arthur Smith is as an offensive play caller and a head coach in the NFL, you cannot deny the fact that he knows how to operate the running game as an offensive coordinator and just as a coach in general. They were 9th this year. I believe they were 3rd the year before. And when he was with Tennessee, he had Derrick Henry as an MVP candidate. So he knows how to operate the running game. He knows how to get the most out of the running game for an offense. But this is going to be a common theme. I don't know if Drake London is a number one wide receiver. I don't know if Kyle Pitts is a good tight end or not. I don't know if the offensive line with an aging Jake Matthews protecting Kirk Cousins' blind side. I don't know if Kirk Cousins coming off of a torn Achilles at age 36. I just don't know. Yeah, you know what I mean? I don't know how anyone could know. And there's no reason, at this point at least, there's no reason to think Atlanta is anything better than the third or second, I guess, best team in the NFC South. At least with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we know that they have their main threats on offense, and I think we all know that we can believe in their defense. I think even with Carolina, we see a marked improvement with their roster, from the skill position players to the defense. I think the defense got worse, but you get my point. Atlanta did not really improve. From their draft picks all the way down to what they added and especially what they lost in free agency. So, I mean, your second best player that you signed in free agency is Darnell Mooney. And again, I don't know if Darnell Mooney can be a solid number 2 receiver in the NFL. Chicago fans will tell you that Darnell Mooney is really good, and I want to believe that Darnell Mooney is really good. I have never seen it. And defensively, this is, again, like, I don't see, other than their secondary is very good. Jesse Bates, Robert Alford, AJ Terrell, Kevin King, Antonio Hamilton. They did actually already lose DeMarco Hellams, which I think is that's a tough loss for them in a preseason game to lose Hellams. They also lost Rondale Moore, who, if he wasn't lost for the year, you would be saying that offensively they did make more improvements, because I think Rondale Moore, if you put him with this offense, he makes Darnell Mooney probably the number 3 receiver. He becomes a really good number 2 receiver, and you're looking at this offense with Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Darnell Mooney, Rondale Moore. Hopefully Kyle Pitts is the player that we want him to be. You're looking at an offense that's actually pretty fully fleshed out. But now you're going to be relying on guys like Ray McLeod. You're going to be relying on guys like Casey Washington, who you drafted in the 6th round. And you're going to be relying on Kyle Pitts even more, who, again, I don't know if he can be relied on like that. And again, this is going to fall on the shoulders of a guy who is 36 years old, who just tore his Achilles, 9 months ago? 10 months ago? I don't know how much I believe in that. I just don't know. And this is a really weird transition period for Atlanta because, again, a lot of people are going to say that just off the fact that they got rid of Arthur Smith, there is addition by subtraction. But again, your running game is probably going to get much worse without Arthur Smith there. Many of the coaches that were with Arthur Smith are still there. And you bring over Zach Robinson and Raheem Morris from the LA Rams. They also bring over a lot of their assistant coaches from LA. And so it's basically like half of the coaching staff from the LA Rams is basically coaching the Falcons now. This is going to be quick in terms of this preview, which I mean, there's not a lot here with Atlanta. So I guess we'll just get to the schedule already. And if you're looking at this, it's going to look a little bit weird because the picture I found, it has their preseason games as the first 3 games. But if you just look at week 1 against the Steelers and then at Philadelphia against Kansas City, that's a 3-game stretch where if you're Atlanta, if you are 1-2, I think you're happy. If you're 2-1 or 3-0, you're ecstatic. It's a weird schedule in the fact that their first 9 games, they only play 3 on the road. But then you also look at that and then you say after their bye, you go to Minnesota, go to Las Vegas, and you go to Washington in 3 of the last 6 games of the year. I mean, that's not a tough schedule. It's not an absolutely horrible schedule, but it's not the easiest. And I just don't know with Atlanta. That's the best thing I can say is I don't know. It's a really weird team, and not weird in a good way. I think it's weird in just a weird way, where 8-9 is probably what they're going to end up. I know Kirk Cousins is there, and we've seen Kirk Cousins play so well and above everyone's expectations, but at some point he's going to play to expectation, I feel like. And he's coming off of a torn Achilles at 36 years old. This is not the profession to do this in. I guess a floor for this team is 6-11. I mean, they're not so bad that you're like, this is a terrible team, but they're in the middle between a bad and mid-tier team, I guess. I don't really know what to. Again, this is like I really have no idea what to say about Atlanta because I don't know about any of these guys doing anything to make them a 10-plus win team. It's just how they stack up with the rest of the NFL. I guess a ceiling is 9-8, 10-7. I guess. I don't know. I guess that's if everything goes right. But again, what does everything going right really look like? I think it's going to be tough for Kirk Cousins to go from having absolutely the best receiver in the NFL the last 3 seasons in Justin Jefferson. It's going to be very tough to go from that to your best receiver is Drake London or Kyle Pitts or, I mean, it's just going to be tough. And again, the running game is probably going to be worse. Bijan Robinson's going to play well. The running game is probably going to be worse statistically. Just from a statistical perspective, they might look better as a team overall running the ball, but I just don't think that's going to happen. I don't know. I guess that's the theme of this video. I don't know about Atlanta. And I guess they could make the playoffs, I guess, but I just don't see it.